and welcome back to a new episode of Training Brains. I'm your host, Angel Messina, and my co-host, Evan Gregg.
What's up, guys?
And we're here to talk about podcasts. This podcast is going to talk about podcasting, like how to start one, kind of like get into the groove, some stuff to know. Or like these are like listeners to know what you guys need to start a podcast, and people who are in a podcast right now, just some few tips as well. So it could be first for everyone as well. Evan, do you want to start us off with a couple of things about podcasting?
Yeah, man. So when you and I started the idea of making Trading Brains, we didn't really have any experience making a podcast. So we started where anyone would, which was Google. And, we found out, or at least I didn't know this beforehand, but uh, all of the places where people usually listen to podcasts, like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, all those distributors, they don't actually host the audio files that you upload for people to listen to your podcast.
Mhm.
And it turns out that uh, you need to put your podcast on those distributors, you need to get a podcast host. And so, we kind of looked at all of the hosts in the
Oh,
industry.
and Excel sheets.
Yeah, well, I made an Excel sheet, just like comparing the plans and the pricing and like the way it's set up, because that's pretty important. Like if you're starting a podcast and you have a bunch of episodes backlogged, like we did, um, one one podcast host is going to be more suited to your needs than another host. Some hosts only allow a certain limit of like a monthly upload of
Yeah.
file size. So if you have a lot of audio uh, from old work, and you want to distribute that, then you may have to go through a specific uh, podcast distributor.
Hmm.
Now, for our purposes, we don't. Right now, our podcast is still growing, growing subscribers and viewers and all that. So we're going with podcast.com, right?
Yep.
And podcast.com is pretty cool. It lets you it hosts your podcast pretty much for free. Um, Although, it's very limited in terms of its analytics and other things. But, free is free. Of course, you get what you pay for. So that's pretty
Yeah.
much how the podcast itself works. And
Yeah.
then, there's so much more else that you need to do. Make sure your audio levels are okay,
Hmm.
um, your visuals. So obviously, if you're just listening to a podcast, you don't really care about visuals. But since we're also uploading our stuff to YouTube, uh, making sure uh, people can see our faces and that it's clear and our camera quality is all right, and that the audio is good. I also think, I mean, if you're going to do a podcast, you got to have like a premise or like an idea behind a theme behind the podcast, or at least something you kind of come back to. We're always talking about soccer and football and music. Like those are topics that we can just come back to. And then we have the ones that we explore and the ones that we also bring guests on.
Hmm.
So I mean, those are just a few of the things that you need to get started for a
Hmm.
podcast.
Yeah, like so like different kind of podcasts is like, yeah, it's all depends on like how much money you're willing to put, not willing to put into it, but how much money you guys, since myself and my co-host Evan, we're in two different countries, so it's kind of hard to split the cost on what we needed. And why we choose podcasts was, one, it was free, and two, it was able to host all of the our audio file to Apple, Google Play,
Hmm.
Stitcher, and as well as one more, oh, Spotify as well, and they are all hosting to them. When we do get into more analytics with monetizing as well, that comes to a new ball game. And I think when we are doing well, and we could look into Pinecast, Podbean, Hippia, Lisbon, and Buzzsprout as well, because they have different other hosting package that we can use, and
Yeah, and also revenue generating stuff, like ad revenue. Having an ad platform makes it easier for, people or creators creating this podcast for the entertainment of our listeners. So that's definitely part of the podcast. And, if you get ad revenue, you can improve the podcast itself, spend more time on it, buy better equipment, all that stuff. Something I didn't realize when we were starting out was actually how easy it was to once you had the host, right? Once you had the RSS feed, how easy it was to just go to these distributors and apply to them, because like they have this whole investigation, I guess, just like making sure your podcast probably follows community guidelines or something like that. Make sure it's not harmful content or something like that. But ours pretty much went through in like a day, right? A day or two.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, after that, we didn't have to wait anymore.
Yeah.
And that was the easy thing. And don't worry about the hosting of the distributors, such as like Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music. All of them are free. Like, you don't have to worry about the cost or the overhead with them.
Yeah, the
When you get the
distributors.
RSS feed, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Basically, like the distributors will just call the host and be like, "Hey, do you have any new episodes?" Right, and then the host will show them the RSS feed, be like, "Yeah, here's the new ones."
The new ones came out, done. And that's it. And then so I'm going into like niches that everyone wants to do. So you could do about one thing, like let's just say a sports team. You could pick whatever sports team. You just talk about that one sports team, and kind of like go into the whole and take out every skeleton or every idea that they have and kind of like go into it. While we like the approach of being more general and talk about a little topic every day or every week or however we want to talk about it. So that's
I mean, we'll typically pick something and pick something and then like dance around that topic,
Yeah.
Sometimes
the whole point of the premise of the show is trading brains, so kind of like picking off on each other ideas or their intelligence on that topic, and then kind of like, so we're learning new every day, and to the point that we have our guests come into play and kind of like interact with us as well.
Yeah, I really enjoy our guest episodes. Not that I, don't love.
Of course, but talking to me, it gets weird. Not weird, but it gets over redundant. So we always do add some flair, add a new one. We did George with the recruitment, Tom and Mary for our anime episode, and we kind of get into people who are in the field or doing a podcast about it because they are a little bit more invested as well. So that's the whole point of our premise of the show, is kind of like pick their brains, what they think, how they feel about certain topics. And if there's certain topics that like people or viewers or listeners are listening right now, if they have a topic that we should talk about or they want us to talk about or any questions for us to answer, we're here to help. We're here to help whatever you guys want to hear as well.
Yeah. Not to say that, we're running out of ideas or that we aren't running out of ideas, but it would be great to get the listeners' feedback on like, what they want to hear us talk about. Because then we would be making this show not only more useful for them, but more entertaining. So yeah, listeners out there, send us your content requests, and we will do our best to answer them. What else? What else is needed for a podcast? It's actually pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Well, it's how I feel, and me and myself and Evan, what we talk about is more in the fact of what do we need to go to the next step, or is it needed for now? And like audio, of course, you need everyone to hear you. Visual, if you're sending it to YouTube. If right now you don't want to put any money and see how it goes, it's all about we Skype. I mean, we kind of like record and then we send it out to podcast.com, and they distribute the rest.
Mhm.
So, and we like to keep everything raw. So if you make any bloopers or whatever, we want that to see, like, our viewers to see that, and our listeners. It's just two guys talking, and that's how we want it. Feel how
Mhm.
it is when the viewers are listening. Um, what else? Besides, and then like merchandise, of course, but like I said, like if you don't, like, you get like a heat press or make your own shirts or have a website to make your shirts, that's something like you guys can look into if you guys
Mhm.
want to, or you have to wait until it gets into the fact of, okay, you have the customer, you have the viewerships or subscribers, they're willing to
Yeah,
buy
you're
your product because they
right.
care about you and they'll put some input, then
Mhm.
you can start playing with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you start, and then get new equipment, new mics, then new, if you have a good phone, the I said new iPhone, Galaxy, if you do a good video quality and also a good audio quality, you're pretty much set for everything else for the podcast. I feel like legitimate after that is pick up the host, which kind you need. Look into podcast.com, could be used that as of right now.
Mhm.
Um, After that, distributors. Where do you want to see your guys going to? Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and you look at the analytics and see and kind of gauge what direction you want to go to. And that's really the beginning of starting a podcast. Of course, we're not expert,
Yeah,
but
by no means.
no means.
But
But
we,
we have been doing it for 7 months.
yeah,
We
something
started,
somewhere around there.
yeah, we started around June, July.
Yeah, somewhere around
And
there.
I think we started a little bit. We actually started a little bit earlier. We released it in June, July. We started
Right.
around May.
Mm.
So yeah, about 7 months. So, and we did a lot of research, and it's something that you guys want to do. It's it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's nice, fun. Like, set a time, especially if you have someone closer. Great. If you're in
Yeah.
our situation, we set a time, and we try to hit it every week, at least once a week,
Yeah.
and we meet up. We do an episode or two, and then we go to the next weekend topic. And we always meet throughout the week. We talk. We're best friends,
Hmm.
so we talk
Yeah.
about what episodes. We have a list on episodes list. We look on our emails, YouTube, all our stuff for comments, and soon we're going to try to get a community going for our people, our community for Training Brains, as well as starting with that as well. So just after it's engaging with the engaging to the community at that point, so making it grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, of course, we're still building our following and just trying to put out more and more content for people,
Mm-hmm.
uh, for our listeners. Uh, I don't know what else really. I mean, there's many different ways to monetize, advertising, but also merchandising. But
Mm-hmm.
like we discussed earlier, you got to have the following first, and then see like if people are interested in what you have to offer.
But right now like main thing what people should focus on is content and the quality. After that, finding a host. There's free stuff. There's free trials. Look
Hmm.
up all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Distributors, they are all free, so don't worry about it. So you pick which platform you want. You want to stay with YouTube, because after a certain amount of subscribers and hours viewed within the last 12 months, you could do you could get paid that way. And then after that is ads as well. So
Hmm.
you're pretty much set with that. Um, Merchandise, how it goes. If you guys want to start in the beginning and make sure so you understand how to use the machine or the website, and like kind of like build your logo, build everything else. I feel like that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
If not, I say wait, get the following, and then so you don't overspend and kind of like go over your head and then get this strong why you're not making money so quick. Because this is
Yeah.
not a sprint, it's a marathon. You're in it for the long run if you want to be
Yeah.
successful. You don't want to rush into conclusions. Take your time, understand what you need to do, and always adapt. After that, everything falls into place and it will get there. I promise you.
It's all step by step, like you basically do something to support your podcast, like, hey, maybe you should change hosts, or maybe we should make a website to attach to the podcast, right? Explain it. Okay, you're going to come up against a wall, like, okay, well, which website hosting platform should I use? Or how often should I post content, or whatever, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And that's, honestly, it's play by play. You just
Of course.
encounter that problem, and then you search for ways to solve that.
No,
But
100%.
I do think that starting, like you said, the way you put it, starting it is pretty straightforward. If you have content and decent equipment, which, if you have a smartphone, you have decent equipment, then you're good to go, to start making content.
Yeah. And then you get into cameras, lights, mics, and those are certain stuff that you want to get into. If you want, like, ask us questions. Would you guys say, oh, if I'm looking for a mic, we'll help you out. But
Mhm.
legitimately, like, we use our phones or laptops or headsets that we had playing our PlayStations or Xbox, whatever it is.
Yeah, if you've seen our previous episodes, we had our headsets on. So
And we looked like our phones had a little bit better quality than our laptops, and then we went from there. And kind of assessed them, and we went. And yeah, so we have.
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. We have like this. This is how it is. It's just meant to be raw.
Yeah, right.
Like, our
Wait,
reaction,
who's calling me right here?
and basically that's how we wanted it to be because we're doing it live. We're not trying to edit and look perfect. This is perfect in our minds because this is the raw and how we want to do it, and that's
Yeah,
what we go
I think
into it.
doing a completely raw, unedited podcast is, that's how you have a conversation. Otherwise, it becomes like a news piece, or
Yeah.
it just very curated.
And that's something
And
that
that's
we
really
did
not
want to go into. Very true. But besides that, it's really straightforward, guys. Just you think you have a podcast idea, you want to make it, do it. That's really what it is.
Yeah, and the rest of it is just promotion. You can make a Facebook page, but basically be wherever you feel like your listeners are the most, right? If your listeners are always on Twitter, just make sure you're promoting your content on Twitter. If they're mostly on Facebook.
Yeah.
I think, that's honestly the best way to make your podcast grow and
Exactly.
keep coming up with new ideas, because people are always going to be like, oh, this episode you did on XXX is really cool. How about, this? Or like, I'd like to hear more about this. So maybe you do like a deep dive on a topic, or.
And we will go into it and kind of like learn as much as we can whenever we want to do the episode on, which is fairly soon if someone tries to suggest it for us. But that's really it. And we, like I said, we're no expert in everything, but we like to learn everything and try to learn the best to our best of our abilities.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But
yeah, looking back, podcast itself is pretty easy to start up.
So I really think that people just have your content, go on from there, and you're pretty much set. But yeah, I am. After that, if you have any more questions, let us know at trainingbrains.com. Trainingbrains podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we don't have a website yet. Might though. Maybe in the future we'll make a website.
Yeah, if we need a website, we go into that route. But as right now, emails us, message us on the Facebook. We have Facebook, Training Brain Podcast.
or YouTube comment.
YouTube, comment on this video or any videos as well. Like, subscribe, and hopefully we get to hear new voices, and as well as kind of engage into whatever community that we create, such as in Discord or Facebook as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah, creating the community and maintaining that is also pretty important.
so peace out, guys. Have a
Yeah.
good day.
Today was probably our shortest episode, but that's all right. I hope listeners look forward to next week's episode. Actually, I'm doing a little bit of like deep dive research on Destiny's lore, like history. So I'm going to bring that to the table for next week. And Angela, you can just sit back, relax, listen to me drone on, and ask questions. Any questions you might have about what I'm bringing to the table. So yeah, look forward to that, listeners, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.
See you all next week, guys.
Bye-bye.